Hey, this is After the Gig, and I am Jesse Humphrey. Today on the show is my wonderful guest, Dan Rodriguez. Dan is quite the colorful character. That's why I'm wearing this very colorful shirt. So, I met Dan on the rock boat. I believe it was 2 or maybe 3 years ago, and we kind of became fast friends. Dan is like one of the sweetest dudes that I've ever met. I love his music, I love his voice, and he has some of the best hair in the game. And he's on tour right now, so go check him out. But without further ado, this is my conversation with the great Dan Rodriguez.
We could live stream this if we wanted to, but not going to.
The options that we have.
Too many.
I'll tell you what, figuring out how to do this and through my proper gear and then streaming is, I'm so grateful that in 2020, we had to figure all that out. So Everybody was doing live streams and things.
Were you doing a lot of that?
Oh man, it saved me.
Really?
It like saved me and my family. Yeah.
Okay.
You want to talk about it?
Yeah, sure.
I was watching a lot of people do them, and I hadn't done one yet. And mostly because I was like, it's just 2 weeks, you guys. It's 2 weeks, and then you stay home for 2 weeks, and then everything will be back to normal, right?
For real.
That's what we all believed, and for a minute, and but no. So people are going live streams and doing the things, and I was like, I don't want to be part of the same noise. I don't want that. I don't want like my voice to just get lost in it, and so I wanted to do it well, and so I just sat several evenings in a row, and I watched a bunch of my friends do them, and I like wrote down things that I loved that they did, and I wrote down things that I thought I would like to do differently. And one of the things was the quality of a lot of them were really bad, and so like audio quality, and that's not to anybody's fault. It's just I was like, oh, I have the tools here in my studio to combat that. So I like took some time and I figured it out, and I did a bunch of like test streams and things, and then I finally went live and did one. But what I didn't know was going to happen is that I'd never gone live on Facebook before. And if you go live from like a music page for the first time, it pushes it to every one of your followers. And so for your very first one. And so my very first one, I logged in and it push notificationed it to like 10,000 people. Whoa. And I was like, that's amazing. And so I had this wildly populated live stream for my very first one. And I didn't want to make it about the money, like my wife's a stay-at-home mom, and I'm a touring musician. That's how we make a living. And so I'm like, I don't want to make it about that. Although the reason I'm doing this is to support the family, right? So they try to bring something in, and so, but I didn't like check my Venmo right away or my PayPal that I had put up or anything, because I didn't want it to be about that. And then when I finally did, I just broke down. It was there was like $10,000 that had come in, and
wow,
I was blown away. And I'm only saying that number just because it was just such a gift from all of the folks that have been following for so long. And that gift bought us so much time into the summer to figure out and pivot and figure out what to do. Then I wasn't scrambling, like it bought me some time to be able to figure out what to do next. And then other live streams continued, and nothing was ever like that. But it tapered off after a little while. But I branded mine. I called it the Quarantine Sessions. And
nice.
And I made it into a record I bring with me and sell on the road. And it's all songs I wrote for those. And I said, every single one I do, I'll write a new song for it, and I'll present you a new song every live stream. And
that's rad.
And so, and I didn't want to overpopulate it, so I did it every other week instead of every week. And then I don't remember how many I did, like 14 or 15 or something like that.
That's great, dude.
Man, it was incredible. But I was like, it blew my mind. I sat and I looked at my phone and I just cried because it was like if you didn't think so much stress.
Yeah, if you didn't think that no, it's okay. If you didn't think that you had like a solid community around you, it's like, oh crap, like I have this powerful thing. It's like you said, it's not about the money or anything, but it's you write music that supports people and that actually has a message that people grab onto. And when you were in a time of need, when we all were, like I was doing live streams too, and I have this, I branded mine as Over the Hump because my name is Jesse Humphrey, and the fans of it are humpers. The fans of this, of the podcast of After the Gig, they're all humpers.
Yes.
So, and that community of people are just like unbelievable, and they show you really what they're made of during that time, and that's great, man. I mean, that's a tribute to the way that your music affected all those people.
Well, I mean, yeah, but also for me, it's like, gosh, I've had this voice of doubt that's been following me along with me for my whole life, and just recently I've been.
It seems like a common thread of songwriters, especially good ones, which is crazy.
In recent years, I've fired him. I named him Gary. I'm sorry if you're listening and your name is Gary. I'm sure you're a great person.
Out of here, Gary.
But I named mine Gary. It seemed appropriate. I don't know why. But you know, if there's any time that I've ever felt I shifted from feeling like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing with my life to knowing that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing with my life, it was that COVID time. It was that shift where I went, oh, okay. I've always felt like I'm supposed to be doing this, but now I know. And because of how many people came and supported and just kind of like hugged my family in that time, knowing that like my wife is hasn't, like, what, she didn't start with a job there, you know, and she used to work at the University of Minnesota, and we shifted over where she wanted to be full-time mom, and we were able to, and then that stuff hit, and I was like, holy buckets, what are we gonna do?
As if it wasn't hard enough.
I've never had a real job, and I'm not going to pass the drug test. And so,
can you explain this 40-year gap?
Excuse me, I'm 38. I'm 38 years old now, Mr. Humphrey.
You're older than me. No, I it's funny because I was having this conversation. I have one of my best, one of my best friends in the world that I grew up with. I've known since I was 5 years old. His name's Nick Matarisi. He's been on this podcast before because he is he's like a lead. He heads up a team of designers at Google, and it's like the biggest boy of big boy jobs. And he created the Google Home, the thing that, you know, you talk to that spies on you in your house every day. And especially mine. He's like, here's a bunch of Google Homes. I'm like, so are you listening? Do you have a feed to that? Or but anyway, so he's I completely lost my train of thought. I didn't even bring up Nick. What were we talking about?
Voices of Doubt.
Voices of Doubt. Yeah, so he's just like this guy that has this amazing job and all this stuff, and he has it like all figured out. And I just had a conversation with him one time. I'm like, Nick, are you like, could you even imagine what my first interview would be like getting back into the workforce if I decided not to play music or if I decided not to do any of this anymore? And I had a very similar thought during COVID. Like we had a baby during COVID, and we lost gigs and stuff. But luckily, Carbon Leaf, we had hardcore fans. We did a ton of private gigs. We did a ton of, masked up, socially distanced stuff and live streams, which paid the bills and all that. And we also had a great Kickstarter campaign for a new album that's coming out this year. It took forever to make, but it's coming out this year. But I explained to Nick, I'm like, hey, if I had to do this interview thing and someone sat down with me and said, like, what have you been doing for the last 10 years or whatever? I don't even know what I would say. I'm like, well, I became proficient in live streaming. I became a photographer. I became a videographer. I'm a designer on Canva. It's like, it's all kinds of, I I've gained more skills in the last 4 years while even becoming a dad. You know, it's just more in the last 4 years than in my entire life, in 36 years.
Okay, but
37 years.
are you wired that way anyway? Like, you're talking about woodworking. I dabble in the woodworking world as well. So like, are you a hobbies person? Are you like, do you find yourself like, because I find myself excited about another hobby, but only if it requires a process.
Interesting.
Does that make sense? Like all the hobbies that I choose, I ended up choosing things that require some sort of ceremony or process to them, and in order to get good at it, you know, or in order to be able to be proficient in it, because the things that are instantly gratifying, where somebody else did all the creative work, I just don't. I'm not interested in that. Like, I'm not a video games guy, because because I just like, I have friends that are really into video games, and it's like, I'm like, that sounds great for you, but like,
That's
I would be sitting there being
outcome.
like, it's exactly. Well, in the end, it's like, and you know, they're playing with each other and doing it's like all the different things. But in the end, I would be the one that's like, well, okay, well, how do we build a new world for that, you know, thing? And so,
okay, no, that's cool, because that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense to me, but I've never had someone articulate it quite that way.
Is that, would you do you align with that?
No. So the way that I get into things is like, I have to have a need for it. I have to feel like, oh, well, I could do that myself. And luckily for me, it's not a braggy thing or anything, but a lot of things come not pretty easily, but I don't have to struggle to get into the door. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I have really great coordination, which helps with a lot of different things. I have a mentality towards safety, which I don't just rush into things. I really, really bide my time and research things, especially like with woodworking. I'll watch YouTube videos to death until I feel comfortable enough to go and do it. And I can do it because I've internalized that thing. That's how I learn. So that's when I started woodworking, is because we needed a bed for our guest room, because my mother-in-law was coming over from Ireland for 2 months, and we're looking at the prices of beds and stuff. We had just bought a home, so in this market,
all your money's gone. All your money's gone.
Yeah, or a lot of it is gone. So I'm like, how can we? I'm thinking down the road, like, I'm going to have to replace the AC unit. I'm going to have to do this thing. So I'm like, let me figure out. Woodworking and building things, like having a tangible like thing is also something that gets me attracted to a certain thing, like having a photo that I could make a frame and put it in a thing and see it, and I can walk by it and like know how I built that thing. Making a record, remember like having photos of the session, being there with the producer, being at the board. Why did we choose certain things? That is a tangible thing that has an outcome that you use your skills and you create it. So that is that kind of thing. But woodworking had that. I needed that bed. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to build a bed. And when I get into something, I go 1000% I get so into it to where my wife is so sick of me, and I go for it, and I built the bed, and then I started building other shit, and it's been so fun. It's been really, really fun. So I'm glad to get into it, but I have a hard time picking up projects that I'm not so sure about. So I'll take a lot of time, do a lot of research, and then I'll go for it. But
see, are you the guy that, like, if a group of people are sitting down to play a new board game, you're reading the instructions to everybody out loud and, and internalizing it, and then you're like, okay, and then you kind of explain it in layman's terms to everybody? Is that you?
1000%. And I'm the guy. I get mad.
And I'm the guy drinking beers. Yes, I'm the guy drinking a beer, waiting for you to finish reading it so you can explain it to me, and having the side conversations.
Like, Dan.
Okay, what happens if you roll a 6, Dan? He's like, it's 100%. I'm the opposite of that. And I'm married to I'm married to the instructions reader.
Sure, you
and
need that.
I need it. I need it. And I'm so grateful for it because you married
to,
the like dive in and figure it out by learning. Like,
exactly.
Learn by doing.
I married the what is the big deal? Like, it starts playing the game, doesn't know the rules, starts making up their own rules. So my wife, whenever we play Jenga. All right, you're pushing some real buttons, Dan.
I love this.
When we start playing Jenga, there's been multiple times where we played with different people where she'll start pulling a piece out. The thing is falling and she's like, no. And she'll cheat and she'll save it and it won't fall. And then she'll pull out the piece and like, your turn. I'm like, what do you mean my turn? I won. The game's over. You cheated.
Oh man, that's so funny.
Yeah.
No, yeah. What's funny is like in this moment, I'm like, oh, I think I understand why I'm so attracted to this friendship and like in this conversation is because I'm like, I think naturally I'm like, oh, I understand you. I understand you because I'm married to you. You know,
right?
Like,
yeah, we're married, Dan. This is a relationship.
But it's like my kids. I have 3 little boys, and I have a baby who we're trying to. We don't know who knows who he'll be. You know, but my oldest is very much wired like my wife in so many ways, and my second, my middle son, he's very much wired like me. Mm-hmm. I can't stand him sometimes in the most beautiful way. You know what I mean? You know, the parenting way. There's the honest parent way. But like his personality is so much for me. Exactly. Where I'm like, dude. And my wife's like, she has 100% patience for that child. But then she loses her patience for the other one. And I'm like, it's because he's like this. But she deals with that type of personality all the time. She's been dealing with that type of personality for 12 married years, almost 12 married years. And so then for him, for my oldest, like I understand him. So it's this beautiful little weird personality understanding. Yeah. But I love that.
My son is exactly like me. And it's a lot. And he's really intense, and he's just like, he's so competitive, and he's like, if he can't figure something out like this, it's not great.
How old is he?
He'll be 4 next week.
Dude, yes, you're in it.
It's a fun age. It's a fun age. It's really, really fun. I mean, 3 has been the most, it's so funny. Like 3 has been kind of the most difficult, and it's making me like kind of worry about 4, and just because it's just a lot, you know. He's an only child, and he needs us for his like playing stimulation and all that, and he's like a big kid. He wants to wrestle and fight and stuff, which is fun, but then he like takes it too far, you know, and so and it's like, it's just, you know, he's a boy. He's got that crazy boy energy. And it's so fun, but I keep hearing from people that 3 is really, really hard. 2 is nothing. 2 is amazing compared to 3.
The terrible 2s is not a thing.
It's not
the
a
terrible
thing.
3s.
Yeah. 3 is
2 is
crazy.
awesome. 3 was tough, but they're developing so much,
right?
And like that's when like the pituitary gland is like exploding with new wirings and stuff.
Yeah,
and they're pushing their limits to find out where their boundaries are.
For sure.
And that's when like we as parents have to be really consistent and patient, and that's hard.
It's so hard.
That's very hard.
My wife is so patient. She is so patient. She has her days where she's just like, I can't do this. But she's like, you know, she's unbelievable. And I have moments where I'm like, I can't, I'm out. I'm done. I'm tapped out. I'm going downstairs. I'm watching YouTube. I can't.
How much have you been going inward to heal your issues and traumas from when you were young?
What
to
issues?
Make sure you're not repeating those same mistakes. You know what I mean?
What do you mean? There's no.
Oh, your parents are perfect?
There's no issues. There's no trauma. I don't know what you mean.
Still in the denial stage, Jesse. That's good.
No, I mean, honestly, like when I was talking about how I'm intense and, you know, get really into stuff, like when I was in elementary school, I made a girl cry because she wasn't
Hell
good
yeah.
because she wasn't good at kickball. And
Oh man. Oh, that poor girl.
that poor girl.
She's got her trauma she's dealing with, and it's you.
I know. She's having the same conversation right now with someone about how
She's like,
much of an asshole Jesse Humphrey is.
And the whole time, the rest of my life, I was like, I have to be good at everything.
Yeah, I made her better. You're welcome, Cindy. Or whatever your name was.
Poor Cindy.
Poor Cindy. No, I mean, I don't know. I'm not patient at all. And I get with the people that I'm closest to, I have a short temper. Not a short temper,
Sure.
but I have a short fuse where I'm not patient and I just like, just get it, I said that. I already said that, I hate repeating myself, stuff like that. So I'm trying to kind of break a lot of that bad attitude and like to quickly turn to like, I get annoyed way too quickly. So with people that I know, like love me and like understand me and like whatever. So I have
Is there a part of you that's you get annoyed because you're like, you should know better?
Yeah. Yes.
Because you hold them to a high standard.
Exactly.
Because you know their potential.
The people that I treat like that, or the people I bust balls with, are the ones that I love the most, because I know that they're capable of getting, like, doing the thing, or whatever it may be, or understanding what I'm saying, or reaching some kind of potential of something they want to do. Like, I have this conversation with my wife a lot, and we don't have that same type of relationship, because she will hear me and like ask. She knows like how to. She knows me, so she knows that she can talk, and if I'm like that, she doesn't take it in a personal way. She takes it as constructive. She knows that where it's coming from. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Am I sounding
100%.
like an insane person?
I also have a very patient wife who's patient with me and puts up with my crap too.
Right.
And that's really, and then we do the same, and it's beautiful. I love that.
How does that work with
that-
your relationship? Like, as far as, with the kid, like, that's a lot of kids. That's a lot of kids you got. You got 4 kids.
I got 3. I have 3. Well, there's 3.
Oh, I thought
three
you
that
had
I know of.
3 and then a baby.
No. I got 3 little boys. One of them is a baby.
Gotcha.
But I always say there's 3 that I know of and pay for.
Sure. That's
My
all
wife
that
loves
matters.
that joke. She loves that joke.
It's like, yeah, okay, Dan. Better watch out.
I claim 3 dependents here. No.
Find the
One
other
thing
ones
that
and claim
helps
some
me.
more.
One thing that helps me with the patience thing with because I'm the same way where I have very little patience for things that I feel should not be, and and chaos noise. Like, my life is already chaos. Like, this that's going on constantly, and it's like this train that's just constantly moving and chugging around and switching tracks and doing different things. If I walk into chaos when this is already chaotic, it's overwhelming for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, or when my kid comes up and I'm doing something, he comes up and asks a bunch of questions, and I'm like, hold on a second. I know it looks like I'm just sitting here, but you're actually interrupting me because I'm having a whole thing right up here. And so, like, I'm like, I can't connect the wires to be able to be like, let me shut this off for a second and give you all of my attention. But one thing that's helping me do that and be more patient in those moments is, especially like when it's chaos and it's a mess, I'm like, there's going to be a day that my house is very quiet and I'm going to miss the cause of the chaos. Mm-hmm. And like, there's going to be a day where there's not toys that could dangerously kill me on the stairs when I trip over them. And that's going to be a sad day because it means my kids are getting older and moving on. And I have a good friend of mine. He asks, how old is Oak now? And this is a year or so ago. And I said, he's 7. And he goes, okay, so if you're lucky, you got maybe 8 or If you're really lucky, maybe 9 more summers with him, huh?
Ugh.
And I was like,
I hate to think of it that way.
But I needed it. Like,
It's true.
I needed to think about it that way because I was like, that's not a lot of summers.
No.
That's not a whole lot of summers. And so, like, yours is 4. You know, you're lucky if you got another 12. So
Yeah.
it's like, oh no.
And we don't
That's not a lot.
even get great summers up here. It sucks.
Where are you?
We're in Rhode Island.
Oh yeah, horrible summers.
They're pretty good, but they're so short. They're so short.
I'm in Minnesota. I have short summers too.
Yeah. Yeah, oh my God, I hate thinking of it that way. The way I think of it, I'm so in it where I don't always have those types of thoughts where, you know, I'll get frustrated. I'll get, you know, have those like little micro frustrations. And then you realize like, then you realize that he's just like, it's not worth getting, like, what am I getting worked up over? Like, this doesn't mean anything. Like, let's
I said, clean up your Legos.
clean up your goddamn Legos. My foot will heal.
The scars from daddy yelling probably won't heal it.
Yeah, but this trauma is forever. But no, he's
welcome.
He's so resilient as far as like, you know, if I get upset with the way that he speaks, or if he's like, you know, being whiny or something like that, I'm just like, you know, I have a hard time dealing with the parenting of like, this isn't gonna serve you. And he's so smart, and he's so like above his station as far as a 3-year-old. Like the conversations that we have, it does not feel like I'm having a conversation with a 3-year-old. He's incredibly smart. His memory is unbelievable. And so I hold him to a little bit higher of a standard. And if he's like, you know, messes with something, I get a little bit like, oh man, like, why did you do that? Why did you almost had that puzzle complete, that 500-piece puzzle almost completely together, and you just destroyed it. Like, what are you doing? And
it's those moments where they have to be like, I'm 3.
Yeah, and then you remember, like, you're 3. Okay, we're good.
I'm Daddy. I'm 3. Come
Daddy,
on, cut me
don't
some
you
slack.
realize-
I'm only 3.
He's literally said that before. He's literally said that. He's so
Daddy,
he's so
I'm
self-aware.
only 3. That's
Like,
amazing.
Daddy, I'm 3. You can't get mad at me. It's so fucking funny. They're great. No, he's great. I make it
incredible.
sound like I'm a monster, but he's
We are somewhat monsters.
it's just so hard, like raising yourself, basically. Isn't it crazy?
Nobody prepared me for that.
That part of it is insane. And every time like Ethan, my son, does something that's like exactly like me, which is every single day, my wife goes, "Oh my God, he's you." Every single day. And nobody.
It's endearing though. It's a little endearing though, right?
It is. I remember when he was in his crib. I mean, he was really young, and I just put him down to sleep, and that's like the best time. You put him down. They're so peaceful. It's quiet, and I was just looking at him, and then I caught myself. I've been like staring at him for like for like 5 minutes or something. I'm like, I'm literally looking at myself, and it was like really. Wow. I don't know if it was the angle or the hair or what it was, but I was like, I'm looking at a baby me, and this is really fucking trippy. It was so weird. And like that point on, I felt kind of like that. I felt differently as far as raising him as like the separate person, and then all the things that you don't want to like pass down, all the issues like that you deal with, those stresses that push your buttons. You don't want to push them onto the dude.
Well, right.
Dude.
And what's amazing and what's exciting and the leg up that our kids will have is like they're growing up in a generation where their parents were one of the first generations to like openly accept therapy and like self-work and like my folks, like I can't love them, but like I can't imagine my dad being like sitting down and talking with a therapist about all of his stuff, you know, and he's got more stuff than I've got, you know, so
Yeah.
So like generations and generations up until now, right now, like we're part of this generation of like we're probably more aware of our trauma and how we're affecting other people and how it's affected us than most generations before us. And I'm not talking about individuals, but I'm talking like as a whole.
Right.
But and so like to be able to parent with a different level of consciousness is really interesting. I'm curious to see how well balanced the next generation will be, and can that combat all of the other things, the social media and the rise of all that other stuff. Can these things combat each other, and will we where is it going to go? I'm curious.
Yeah.
And
I
but
feel
we're
like
homeschooling our kids partly because
sweet.
because we're doing the homeschool revival thing, you know. I was homeschooled and I was like, I'm never homeschooling my children.
Why would you feel like that when you were
Because I was homeschooled for very different like separatist evangelical reasons.
Gotcha.
So I wouldn't learn about like sex or evolution. I ended up learning about those things anyway.
And how they're not real.
The Earth is 500 years old. Yeah.
The Earth was made, and then George Washington crossed the Delaware 2 years later, and then
And dinosaurs aren't real.
yeah.
No,
These bones were planted here by the aliens.
I really did. I did grow up in that, and my
So
folks
interesting.
are not. They don't think that way anymore. But we sure did when we were kids. And
When was
was
there a shift? Was there a shift to when they thought about that to when you grew? Because obviously, I mean, you were pretty conscious of your homeschooled and in that environment. Like, was there a moment when it went from, all right, mom and dad are like this and we're like this, to we're not 1,000% in anymore?
I think it was kind of a progression over many years, and even when we were in the thick of it, like in the deep cult, like very separatist stuff, my mom was the only one that, like, one of the only ladies that wore pants at the gatherings, you know, because
What?
they all 100%. She's like they're really old school, and so she's like progressive because she wore pants instead of a dress, you know, or a skirt.
Oh.
And so, were you thinking that nobody was wearing pants?
Sure.
Oh,
yep.
yeah. No, different.
That's exactly where I went.
Kind of group. That's a different kind of group. No, she was wearing pants, and they were all wearing skirts because women shouldn't wear pants. Is like
Right.
the mentality in this, like very patriarchal, old school, discipline your children with the might and fervor of God disciplining the sins of the world. Like, that's kind of how it was growing up. And but she was like always kind of on the outside of that, and then slowly over time kind of moved away from all of it. But yeah, it was weird for a little while.
It seems like such an interesting upbringing, like to get to that point where you believe so wholeheartedly in these ideas and whatever, and then to get out of it, like there must have been some kind of seed that was planted that made your parents say like, you know, maybe pants are fine. And maybe,
I and maybe there is, we haven't talked about it. I don't know for that. I think they were doing their best, and
Sure.
they were influenced by people who suggested this is the right way to do the thing of raising your children, and that's what we did. And I'm one of 6, and so
wow, yeah,
and so it's just, I don't know. And sometimes I don't know. I could equate it to a lot of things, but I'd be guessing, I think.
were your like your grandparents kind of like that? Did they grow up in that kind of
No.
upbringing? Okay, so this kind of started with your parents.
Yeah, but like my parents became Christians and like later when as adults, and I think they were like, okay, how do we do this? And then they were being talked to and influenced by people who were very far in one direction, and they were like, oh, I guess we have to do this. And I think that's kind of what and then I think over time it was like, maybe we don't have to do all of this.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't change it. I mean, I don't think I'd be the musician I am today if I wasn't the homeschool kid that had access to playing music all day long. And
you turned out fine. Seems like you turned out fine.
I think I'm okay. I mean, who would I be today? I don't know. Do I want to be more like somebody that's not me? I don't think so. I like me.
Yeah.
But
so
we're doing the homeschool thing, partly my wife's got her master's in education, and she's if there's one person that can do the thing, it's her. And she's she's the person that's not even like, all right, I found this good curriculum I really like, so we're gonna go with this homeschool curriculum. She's like, I like this about this curriculum, and then this about that curriculum, and then I like this other thing. And then she's like, I'm gonna make my own. It's like piecing it all together, and here's the reasons I don't agree with this necessarily. And then, so she's just making this beautiful thing, and
that's great, man.
I'm watching my boys really flourish, and we live out in the woods too.
Okay,
and so we're on 10 acres of all deep wood hardwoods. So it's like
that sounds like so much fun for them. That sounds like a blast.
It's incredible, and just watching my kids grow up in the woods, and watch my 8-year-old be able to have conversations with adults that, and then also be able to play with kids half of his age and have a blast doing all of it is really, really fun and fascinating. And I'm not saying we're doing it the right way or whatever. It's just, it's what's right for us. And it's been really cool to see and watch them just kind of explode and flourish out here.
Yeah, that's cool. Did you ever, when you had your first kid, how old is your oldest?
He's 8.
8. So did you ever go through the the growing pains of parenting where you're just like afraid of like everything that's happening, and like you can't, like when they go and approach another kid, like you're just like, oh God, what's going to happen? Or another parent, did you ever go through that? It seems like, I don't know. It seems like you would have had an easier time with that kind of thing than I did. I had a very difficult time with that.
Explain a little more what you mean. Like you're worried, you want their interaction to go well.
It's so funny because like you probably don't even have this, because I think it's a me thing. So like
I'm identifying with some of it, but I want to know what you mean a little bit deeper.
All right, I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
So if I go to the playground, when I went to the playground when my son was like 1 or 2 and he was climbing around, and like I felt like I was a little hovery, like I was more hovering than I saw other parents being, and I couldn't understand how it was working. I couldn't let go of like, just keeping him safe. I didn't want him to fall. I didn't want him to whatever, but I knew in my mind that I needed to let him do things and fall and learn and like whatever. But I just had such a hard time letting go. And I also was having similar problems with social interactions. So like when he would go and do something and be playing with a kid, like if he like, I don't know, I would intervene, like if he like pushed a kid or whatever, obviously, and say, time out and say like, you can't do that, buddy. Like, it's not nice and whatever. But just even like, oh, what is the thought of like, oh, what is he going to say? Like, what is he going to do? What's that other kid going to do? Like, do I need to like step in and intervene, like make sure this interaction goes well, or should I just like let it happen? That was a problem. Does that make a little more sense maybe?
Yeah, and I think I probably would have been more that way, but my wife was always a voice for me from the beginning of just like, no, he needs to figure that out.
Yeah.
And no, let him do it, because if you do it, and if you're the, what does she call it, helicopter parent? If you helicopter parent every interaction, and you save him when he needs saving every time, he's never going to learn.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
And it's like, if you're always stepping in and redirecting him or changing things for him, he's never going to fail.
Yeah.
And then he's never going to learn on his own. And then he'll also be afraid to step out and do things on his own. And then he'll always be dependent on you, and you're not always going to be there.
Yeah. I feel like it's like, it's a little bit of the only child thing, but
there is that too. It definitely, I was way more that way with my older one. And then my next one, I'm like, yeah, you're fine.
Well, yeah. And that's the thing that I hear.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Like, I feel like a lot of the issues not issues, but like with his personality now, where he's like intense and like really controlling and wants to like make sure you're playing the game the right way and things like that. The things that are like, annoying about kids is like because of me acting like that when he was young for a little longer than I probably should have. And my wife is the same, is not the same as me, but like is the same as your wife, where she's like, he has to like go and do things and fall and fail and all that. And he won't learn if you are constantly, intervening in social situations. So I don't know.
Yeah. It's just, it comes from, it's the love piece. And it's like, at one hand, you're like, well, I want to be there. And every time you fall and scrape your knee, I want to be able to pick you up, scoop you up, and hold you close, and tell you it's going to be okay. And because I love you, but also because I love you, I'm also going to be the parent that's like, oh, did you fall down? No, you're okay. You're okay. Let's check it out. Are you going to be all right? And that kind of little more like give you your independence, and that's also showing them love. Is like. I don't know. The fact that I'm not always gonna be here. The memento mori, like I'm not always gonna be here. There's a book called Love and Logic, and it's like there's a love and logic style of parenting that we've adopted for ourselves, and I'm not always great about it, but it's giving them choices, and it's easy when they're 3-4 years old. But to set them up, but it's all about giving them the power and giving them the choice. So, but still being in control. So a great example would be like, hey, it's time to go upstairs and go to bed. I'm not going to bed. It's like, cool. Do you want
that's
to?
Interesting.
Yeah, that my wife says it all the time. That's interesting.
That's my main move. It's like, interesting.
Interesting. I like to ask, how do you think that's going to go for you?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's one of my favorites too.
Yeah. How do you think that's going to go over? Oh, probably not well.
Like,
but giving them the choice, it's like, okay, well, it is bedtime. So do you want to walk up the stairs, or do you want me to carry you? And it's like, well, I'm not going. Cool. Well, if you can't decide, then I'll just carry you. Oh, I'll walk. Okay, walk. And then the next thing you know, they're in their bed. And it's like it's easy now, but setting them up for this is giving them the choices rather than always telling them what to do. Then later on, when they're in a group of friends and it's like, hey, do you want to smoke this? Do you want to do that? It's like,
right.
They've been set up with an opportunity to understand, to learn how to make the right choices. And
that's
then
pretty great.
Also because when they make the wrong choice, you let them experience the natural consequences of that. Great. My favorite example is my oldest. My wife made borscht, and he's like, I don't like beets. She's like, well, this is what's for dinner. And he just sat there and would not eat it, and just sat and looked at it. And this is a Friday night. I'll never forget. And he said, I'm not eating this. Well, that's the next thing you eat. And so you can choose. You don't have to eat it now. You can go to bed hungry. But we're having pancakes in the morning, and on Saturday morning, and you're welcome to join us for pancakes when your borscht is gone. And he pushed it off, and he didn't eat it. He's like, no, I'm not eating. Okay, let them choose. Like, give them that power instead of you have to eat just 5 bites. Like doing that game. I'm not doing that game. This is what you have. We made pancakes the next morning, and that kid sat and ate a bowl of cold borscht so sadly, and he just staring at us, watching. And then you up. that you're welcome. This is, oh man, I wish you'd have made a better decision because, it's like being on his team. Like, it's such a bummer you have to eat borscht before this.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm on your side. And that kid always finishes his food.
I love that. That's a really great way.
But
that's something that all kids or all parents struggle with.
Consistent. You gotta be consistent. And that's one thing I've learned is like, my wife's like, don't ever threaten a consequence that you're not willing to follow through with.
Right.
Because if, like, well, I guess we're not going to have movie night then if you're not going to do this. Well, you got to be willing to say we're not doing movie night tonight and change it all. So I don't know. I'm learning it all. I'm so grateful I have her, and they're so lucky they have her to kind of spearhead the
moms
style
are the
of
best.
Parenting.
The moms of the world are the best. Seriously.
We're lucky dudes too.
Do you cook a lot, or does your wife cook most of the time?
She's an amazing cook, and so it would be kind of like, it would be disappointing if I make breakfast every day. I'm the eggs guy, and I have my own apron, and I make breakfast for the family every day. Today I made omelets. It was pretty delicious.
That sounds pretty great.
Flipped them, did the whole thing.
Flipped them. Sometimes I don't flip them.
And we are an eggs family. We got a lot of chickens. We counted recently. We go through about 60 eggs a week in our house.
That's awesome.
It's pretty amazing. But
that's great. We're an eggs family too.
That's why I'm so thin.
Yeah, dude.
My 4-egg omelet breakfast.
Oh my God. I usually go 4 eggs minimum for myself in the morning, but I've been trying to hold off breakfast as long as I possibly can, but it's hard because my wife works, she travels a bit. She has a little bit of a long commute. So I'll try to make some food in the morning, but usually it's just kind of quick. Let's get out of the house. And, so on weekends, it's nice. We try to stay in, like family time in the morning, and then make a nice big breakfast, and then like kind of lunch is like whatever, and then dinner is more of a sit down, be all together kind of thing for us. But the reason why I bring it up, we just got new pots and pans. They came in via FedEx yesterday morning, and before.
What'd you get? Did you get something fancy?
Oh yeah, went to. We had some.
Spent too much money.
Oh, dude, yeah. We had some. The only reason why we got them is because we had Crate and Barrel gift cards.
Oh,
so we went to Crate and Barrel, and we, the whole thing is like non-stick. Do you want to get all clad? Do you want to get what's the other one?
Would you get ceramic?
Ceramic. We went with ceramic this time.
Hell yeah!
I'd never had ceramic plates because we were reading things like about how there's less
microplastics and all the things and the Teflon and the
exactly, and our pans, everything was sticking to them. It was time to go. So I just unboxed, and the unboxing process with these, holy crap!
It's a ceremony.
It was like, this is for this thing, and then we're gonna put all the lids in this like really nice thing that you'll never use. The lids will just sit somewhere, and this will be like a thing that is just you give away, or it will end up in your basement for something. But I used them with the eggs for the first time this morning. It was the best egg cooking experience I have ever had in my entire life. The greatest egg cooking experience. Fantastic.
I'm a huge fan of the Facebook Marketplace.
Me too.
And I like secondhand stuff, man, all day long. I love it. That's how I buy most things. This camera, like all the things. I'm like, how do I find something used and pay much less
fraction
than brand new? Yeah. And my wife's like, she's like always wanted like a Le Creuset Dutch oven. So I went on Marketplace, found one that was like barely used, and it was a set. It was like a big one and a little one, and it was both of them for the price less than I would have paid for one new big one.
Sure.
And I was like, and they look brand new, so I was like, done. So I went and picked it up. This is a few years ago for Christmas, and she was like, I also have this this hand hammered carbon steel roasting pan from Blanc Creative.
Ooh.
And I was like, what's that? And I pulled my phone out and Blanc Creative, and it's like a $400 pan, like this master blacksmith in North Carolina that started in his garage, and now he's got this like gorgeous line of all these hand hammered carbon steel things, and it's nonstick, and she's like, this is barely used, and I bought it in a batch of things at like an estate sale. She's like, I really don't love selling lots of stuff on Marketplace. She's like, I'd give you a good deal on it.
That's awesome.
I was like, I don't like, what is that? Like $100 would be like, what? I'm already at my limit. She's like, I'll sell it to you for $100. I was like, get out of here. So I bring home this roasting pan, and it is my favorite thing. We do use it for everything. We chop up potatoes and throw it in the oven, make fries with it, and it just they brown perfectly. It's non-stick for eggs. I make eggs in it every day. I'm flipping omelets in this roasting pan. It's my favorite thing.
That's rad.
Huge. It's like this big. It's the best.
And you have a nice story about it.
And yeah, but now I'm like, oh, now I want the handled set, and I want the other thing, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to spend like $800 on two things.
Yeah.
So then I don't get it.
Yeah, you got to travel around. Then you got to become a musician, travel around the country, and go to all the estate sales and all the different places, and then you eventually find your set. Dude, that's what it's all about. That's what we're doing. Dude. We're all either government spies or we're estate sale pickers. That's what we are. And music is secondary. Music is one of the least important things in the world. It's all about estate sales. And
I love that we've been on this phone call for an hour now, and we haven't
talked
about music yet. Yeah, haven't talked about music yet.
Oh my God.
I love it.
The thing
I'm not mad about it. I'm just saying that's good.
Very few.
How long are people listening? Do they care? Do they care about me, what I'm saying about kids and blunt creatives?
Well, I do. That's what matters. We care. So that means if we care, then that means someone's going to care.
Do you follow, or do you know Dan Wilson?
Dan Wilson.
The songwriter?
No, I don't think so.
Dan Wilson, he's like, gosh, if I could choose to write a song with anybody right now, I'd probably choose to write a song with Dan Wilson.
Okay.
He was the lead singer of Semisonic, so closing time.
Yeah, the guy, he has kind of like spiky hair. He's been on the boat a few times.
I might think somebody else.
I'm thinking of someone else.
Maybe he wasn't the lead singer of Semisonic, but he wrote that song. Maybe it's just in it. I don't remember. I'm bad at knowing all the details about things.
It's okay. It's not our job. It's their job.
I didn't read all the instructions. Learning as I go. No, but Dan Wilson's written with everybody. Like he wrote a bunch of the Adele songs on her first come out record, and then and since then, and then his discography is insane. But I love following him on Instagram because it'll be just like a video of him walking in a park, and he'll be like, "Do you like your song? Does it sound good to you? Then it's a good song, and it sounds good. If it sounds good to you, then it's good. If you like it, then it's good." And that's it. That's like his whole video. And I'm just like, I love that stuff because that's how I feel. Like I have to feel that way. And I have to accept that because I've played the game of like, man, maybe somebody like what do people want to hear? And I'm like trying to write a song that I think people will like. And it's the dumbest. Those songs are the dumbest songs I've written. And the songs that I'm like, hey, I like this, and it's for me. And if other people like it, then that cool. That'll be a bonus. But those are the songs that people are like, oh, that affected me because of X, Y, and Z. That's like the real, authentically me stuff. And
it's a lot more about finding your audience rather than forcing your audience.
And I think a lot of people learned that earlier on, and I learned it.
You could be surprised, man. You'd be surprised. Like there was so much time where I was chasing, I wanted to be a Vic Firth drumstick endorser, and they didn't think I had enough followers, so I was all bummed out because they wouldn't endorse me or whatever. And then I thought, I was like, what does that even mean? I have the sticks, I can afford them. I'll just play the sticks I want to play, and like, who cares? Like, why would I need that? And another thing, like I took a long time in my life to release my first single, which I sent you last night, and the reason was because all the songs I wrote were like shitty, and I didn't really know how to get the way I felt out on a piece of paper until I had one single thought of something I felt really passionate about, and then the song was easy to write, and it made sense, and it sparked a lot of thought into a lot of people, and that's great, and that's all I wanted to get out of it. You know what I mean? Just like giving people some value out of like the thought that you had. And that's great. That's fantastic. And if you can travel around and connect with people, and you can make a living doing it, fantastic. It's great.
We made it. Like I have to remind myself that. And I just had this conversation with a friend of mine who's he's sitting in his studio in Nashville right now mixing somebody's record. I can tell you that right now. I don't know for sure if that's exactly where he is, but 90% of the time on a Thursday at 11 a.m. that's where he is.
Sure.
And it's what he wanted to do. He wanted to be home and sit in his mix studio and mix songs. And we were just having this conversation where it's like, so I have to remember that even though I've never been in a place that's advanced enough in my career to justify paying for a bus for the tour.
Sure.
Like that's been a dream of mine for years, to do a bus tour. And I've always just done van tours. And I'm like, oh, that feeling of like those things that I thought about in my early 20s where I was like, I will have made it when I'm doing a bus tour. I will have made it when I get to play Red Rocks. I will have made it X, Y, and Z. But that evolved over time to like, then I was like, man, I would just love to make a living off of doing this.
Yeah.
And then now I look back and like I'm cutting other people's records in my studio here, and they're coming here to get a sound, and my wife gets to be a stay-at-home mom, and I get to pay the bills for this house in the woods with my guitar and my voice. Like that, I made it. Like,
yeah.
Whether I'd done the bus tour thing or not, like hell,
1,000%.
I'm still working this. I'm still the arc of my career is still going up, and so you know, from what I understand, the arc of a career will peak at some point, and hopefully, if you're lucky, you peak multiple times. But I think the rise to your peak and the fall from that peak are similar arcs. And so if you get up there really fast, you're more likely to drop really fast. But if you've had a consistent climb or a long plateau where you kind of don't really realize, and then many years later, you kind of look, I used to sell more tickets in DC than this. What's been happening?
Yeah.
That's the sign of a long, healthier career because your arc is kind of doing this thing. Yeah. And I'm still on the up climb, so I'm still seeing growth. Financially, and I'm still seeing growth in ticket numbers and sizes of rooms and things. We just did, my friend Jamie Kent and I just did Appleton, Wisconsin, the only place I'm famous in the whole wide world, Appleton. And but we did the Performing Arts Center there, and 1,300 people bought tickets to be at this Christmas show that we put on, and that's crazy to me. Like, that's wild. I don't know for folks like yourself and other people, you've played much bigger experiences and things like that. But for somebody like myself, who's always been independent too, and just kind of figuring it out and never gave up and just keeps going, had the delusion to continue. Man, it's pretty cool to see those kind of things happen and be able to celebrate them and continue to move onward and upward. So I'm excited.
That's awesome.
Maybe the bus tour thing will happen still.
I'm sure. I have no doubt. The interesting thing is like the mentality of, like, I didn't start off as like a singer-songwriter artist or whatever. Like I have a passion for making music, and I have a passion for playing for people and all that. But it's funny because it completely shifted to me for like what is the important thing or what makes it matter. And it's not it went from being like, I want to play the biggest room, I want to be the most famous drummer or singer or whatever in the world, to being like, no, I want my audience, I want the people I play for to get the same joy and feeling out of the song that I get out of it when I play by myself in my basement. And I want to have the same, I want to find the people that feel that way in a show, in a space, in an event along with me, rather than trying to convince a bunch of people. That sounds exhausting. I'm trying to convince a bunch of people to come out and listen to my thing or whatever, like listen or don't. Like I'd rather you not. I want to find the people that feel the same way about this thing that I do, and they're totally out there. And I think like for people like you, like great songwriters and singers and artists and stuff, like I've had plenty of
ridiculously handsome,
yeah,
and
humble curly hair, fantastic. So like finding those people and like really connecting on a personal level, like at scale, at a big level in multiple different places. That's how you create a great career and a big and like a long, like happy career, because you're with people that, you know, are in the cult with you.
Yeah, you're in the trenches.
Right. You know, I don't know. What do I know? I'm a fucking drummer. I don't know shit. I'm in a basement.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like there's a couple of ways to look at it, and I brought up the delusion. I have the delusion that I think it's necessary. People have asked me, like somebody recently asked me, like, what do you think it takes to make it today? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I think what it takes to make it at any point in your career and in life, or in any era, is the delusion that you just have to have delusion. And I bring it back to always my favorite story to tell with this is years and years ago, maybe over a dozen years ago, when I was like really like I really want to do this and do the thing, and oh, maybe it's more than I'm getting older. It's more than 12 years ago, because I got married 12 years ago. This is before that. So 16 years ago, I'm sitting in a coffee shop, and I get an email that comes in from through my website that was like, we're a ma and pa grocery store, and we have been open for 25 years, and we're just doing an anniversary celebration day. We're doing 25% all the groceries, and like doing this whole thing. We'd love to have music to celebrate. Could we hire you? We'll give you. We have $250 to pay for music. So I'm like, I got $250 for a gig. This is amazing. So yeah, sure. I accept it. I go to the thing, and I'm playing songs. I'm playing my music, and I've got like my CDs set up. I have like one record out, and I've got like my CDs set up on the thing, and I'm singing songs, and I've got cards, and people are like, boop, boop, and I'm playing at the checkout aisle, right? So I'm like playing there, and I'm getting thumbs up, and this little lady comes up, she takes a card and gives me a thumbs up and walks away. And I walked away from that, and I could have very easily said, and it would have been true to say, like, what the hell am I doing with my life? Yeah. Like, what the hell am I doing with my life? I just sat at the checkout aisle in the grocery store and strummed a guitar. Who do I think I am? What am I doing right now? This is complete bullshit. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But instead,
it's ridiculous for me to think that I'm at this level already.
But so my level of delusion, you have to be able to walk away from that and be like, I got paid, they gave me free groceries, and one lady took a card and she might follow my music, and then I got a new fan. That's a pretty good day. And like, if you're delusional to the point where like the like, what am I doing with my life voice is just like, you've already shut that guy down. Yeah. Man, you're gonna go far. Because
if you just shut out that left brain of yours, you're gonna do great things.
I'm convinced, but like if you're good, like if you're good and getting better, and you're delusional enough to think that you could do it,
anything can happen.
The ceiling opens up at that point. And you know, like, I don't know, that's what I believe, and only because I've seen it and experienced it. So like, sure, I believe that because that's been the case for me. I've had 100 scenarios where I should have quit. I have 100 stories I could tell you where I go, oh yeah, anybody in their right mind would have said, what am I doing with my life, and made a change. But I'm like, wow, but that one person. And
yeah.
And then I'm here 20 years later and go, I made it.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I mean, but it's true. It's like any like path that you think is worth following is worth putting in the work to follow it. You know, if you're playing music for 20 some odd years and if you're not getting any better, nothing's happening, you're just not good, and you actually have like a real mental problem where you cannot, like, you can't put that together and you don't see what other people see, and that's a real problem, and that exists, and that is out there, and those people probably should do something else. And it's like, it's a harsh thing to say, but if you have a certain level of skill and you're willing to work at it, and you're willing to take, like, watch yourself play and take like notes and stuff and make incremental improvements over time, you should absolutely keep going if you're willing to put in the work to get to where you want to go.
See, that mentality is true, but it's also the guy that reads all the instructions before the game mentality. Because I'm the one that's like, no. Go out there and do it. If it's not meant to be, you'll get weeded out.
But you know what? It's so you're right. This is the thing. It's like I'm the kind of person that will think too much before, and when I should just go and do it and take the data and then pick up the pieces and try to put them all back together again. That 100% in that type of scenario where it's like performing, getting out there and playing a gig, you cannot be like me if you're trying to do it. You can be analytical after the fact, but you have to put yourself out there to get any 100%. Kind of reaction. You know, I always had a hard time putting myself out there, and I still do. It's a big like drawback. It's a big problem for me that I'm trying to work on, but like it's you have to have that thought, like, don't think so much, like, make the decision, like, stop being so indecisive, go out there, try to get, if you want to play a place, go to the place, talk to the person, try to play, you know, it's like, do that. You can't sit and think about things constantly. You have to get up and do it.
Nobody's going to be thinking about it. Nobody's thinking about you as much as you're thinking about it.
Right. Everybody's selfish.
Nobody's spending that much time thinking about you. And and what you're doing or what you've created. And I just had this conversation with an artist I had here who cut a record here, where it was like, I'm still not 100% sure about this part of the song or these songs. And it's like, is it perfect? Is it right? And I was like, are these the right songs for the record? I don't know. I'm still kind of going back and forth. And I said, we have to remember at times that, like, to put out a record, it may not, like, this may not be your wildflowers, right? This is not going to be like your the record necessarily. And if you're okay with that, then it can be very liberating to just say, this is the artist I am today. This is what I have to offer the world right now, and hopefully the next time I do this, it'll be even better, and the songs will be even stronger. But like, this is who I am today, and this is my offering to the world. Here you are. And I have to remember to do that for myself too. Is like,
sure,
this is who I am right now, and if history has shown me anything, that's going to change, and hopefully it'll change in the direction of improving and getting better.
If you have a brain, then it's going to, you know,
it's going to, yeah, 100%. And so, but part of that is just like, don't overthink it. Just put it out. This is who I am right now. Boom, here, this is it. And I thought this was good, so here it is. And so, I don't know. I think maybe I could benefit from being a little more analytical about things and really thinking through stuff, because while I am the guy that's like, oh, just go do it and figure it out as I go, there are so many times where I fail and I go, oh, if I would have really done my research before this, I wouldn't have failed in this way. And so it's definitely a balance of trying to find the in between the way your brain is wired and the way my brain is wired, and make like a superhuman that can just like,
and with our powers combined.
But that's really it. Like, my powers combined with my wife's powers, and like the way that she operates and is wired, man, we can accomplish so many things.
Yep.
And so it's really cool. We're getting bees We ordered bees. Yesterday or a couple days ago, I was putting bee boxes together, and they're coming like in like a month.
You do so much stuff that I'm never gonna do. I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way.
No, it's not a bad way.
I'm never gonna order bees, ever. That's a sentence I've never heard. I've never heard anyone say that before.
And that's okay. Like, and that's the beauty. That's what I love life, man. I love that we're able to connect from across the country right now, and that like we're wired differently, and we approach everything differently. But at the same time, like, I feel like we hung out a little bit on the rock boat.
Sure.
And I feel like we were best friends right away. And I was like,
I love you, buddy. It's great.
I've known that dude forever. And so when he asked me to do this, I was like, hell yeah, we get to sit and have a conversation with this guy for however long we have conversation. 3 hours. Only 3 hours that went by.
Only
so
an
fast.
hour and a half. So all right. So now walk me through the process of like the benefits of owning bees, like, you know, honey, all that, that's great. And then in the ecosystem, but like how do you go about ordering bees? Like, is it a website? Is it some like guy you have to meet up with like past midnight and you have to like say a secret password or something and they give you the bees?
It's so interesting actually. Like, and this is, by the way, this is everything I'm about to say, I'm repeating from when my wife read the instructions and communicated that to me. So this is just me telling somebody else, explaining to somebody else how to play the game when somebody just explained it to me. So, but so we're doing it for the first time, and there's lots of conflicting information, but this is how we're doing it. First of all, we have friends down in Texas who are like, yeah, we're thinking about getting bees, and you can just like find a swarming hive here somewhere in Texas and like capture the hive.
That sounds absolutely terrifying. Terrifying.
Well, they have bee suits. You have bee suits, but you can find the queen. You can find the hive, or like set the things out and then like get them into the thing and then move them. It's incredible what they can do. But we need, because we're in Minnesota.
Listen, I found the perfect hive. It's right on the side of the road, Route 10 in Texas. You have to get down there in your RV and with your full bee suit. There's traffic coming by, and you have to collect it and put it in a big box. I can't even. It sounds terrifying. Anyway,
sounds amazing. It sounds like such an adventure to me.
Sounds like a good video.
We need cold hardy birds. We need cold hardy bees here because we have such harsh winters, and so and like I don't think we get as much snow as you do up there in Rhode Island. But
in Minneapolis,
we get a lot of snow, but like the Northeast gets more snow because of all the lake effect.
North of us, but I'd say probably like Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine especially gets a lot. We get. I mean, it's been pretty mild the last couple of years, but anyway.
Wonder why that is. It's been.
It's still cold as shit.
It's because of the chemtrails. So the
oh Jesus. At certain altitudes, airplanes create water vapor and they're contrails. They call it the cons. It's not chemicals. No one's dropping jet fuel on you. Go on with the bees.
That's what they say in the mainstream media. If you follow that at all.
Listen.
No, we're doing the bee thing, and we have to get like cold hardy bees that so we're getting these Russian bees that this guy deals. He's a Russian bee dealer, and we get it. He's just shipping them up. So like the post office will call us and be like, your bees are in, and then we got to go get a box of bees that's like a thing that's like buzzing, and then set it up and then bring them to where we have the hive set up and like get them like set up in there, put the queen in there, and then they'll all find her and go around and go inside of the place. It's pretty incredible.
Imagine being the guy working at the post office that is like picks up a box and it's like
we need you to get this box out of here right now.
How long will they survive in that environment?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
I wonder how long they can be in that box Unless,
Yeah, I mean, that's what they do. That's what they do all winter is they go in a box.
Yeah, I guess so.
They just have honey, and then they just shake to keep themselves warm. They just vibrate all winter long. Yeah.
Fucking bees, dude. They're fucking terrifying, but also fascinating.
And then the ones on the outside, after a while, they go towards the middle and warm up, and the ones in the middle go to the outside, and then they all shake to keep each other warm. Keep the queen warm. Eat their honey to stay alive, have some nutrients, get them through the winter. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of cool. So
when do the bees come in? When are you getting those bees? Next month?
Mid-April, yeah. I'm actually supposed to be, I'm going to be on the road when they come in, so my wife will be doing it by herself, I think. So she has a friend that she asked about helping if they come in, if the bees show up at the post office when I'm out of town. Throw the bee suits on and go out there. So like that's what we got each other for Christmas. That's my Christmas gift to my wife, and hers to me was new bee suits. Yeah. So we got bee suits I got the big hat with the net and the thing, and I'm so excited to do it.
That's amazing, dude. I'm excited for you. I've been making content.
I've been making my own syrup for years. And,
that's something I can definitely get down with for sure.
When I was in Minneapolis, I had a tiny little city lot that's like smaller than my garden is here, and but we had 3 silver maples on it that were huge. I was like, I wonder if I could tap those, and I just did some research, and I realized how easy it is. So I bought a couple of taps and some buckets, and I did it, and then I boiled it down in my backyard. And over an open fire, and I was like, "This is sweet." So now I've got like a barrel stove that I like that I cut out and like put a pan on, and it's got like a chimney and all the things, and it's a holiday. So in my house, sugaring day is a holiday, and so like when the season comes around and everything warms up enough, and the sap starts running. I start collecting, and like we set aside, okay, we should have this much by this day. I should have like 40 gallons of sap by this day. And then
are you guys pretty much self-sustained in your property or on your property?
No, I've had a lot of people ask that, like or introduce me like, this is Dan, he lives off the grid. I'm like, oh, I'm very much on the grid.
Yeah. Okay.
I have quite the electric and natural gas bill. But that said, I would love, like, if we had solar panels and like had that as an option. Oh man, that'd be incredible. But
why can't you?
I could. I bought the house and now I'm out of money. So
there you go.
If we had two incomes, we could maybe do it. But like I have a wood boiler outside in the front yard that came with the house, and if I fill that with wood, it shuts the natural gas off when that gets up to temp, and it just heats the water cycles through underground to outside, and heats from this like giant pan on top of this boiler, and I can heat my whole house. My studio's above the garage. This is on that same. It gets on those zones.
Yeah.
So like I can heat the whole house with wood, and through the radiators. That's amazing. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. But I have to have power to do it, because it like pumps run and push everything through and all that. So. I'm not like off grid, but I could do that. And then I've got a wood stove in the house, so I heat the main floor and the upstairs with wood in the house already. So,
dude, I love that. Whenever we get out to Minneapolis again, I gotta come see this.
Yeah, and I'm like 45 minutes outside of the city, so I'm still
out
within
there.
Under an hour from the airport, but it's still far enough away that I can step outside and not hear cars or sirens or anything. So it's pretty great.
It's awesome, man. What do you have coming up? Do you have any new music coming out, or any tours or any shows, or what's? Give me the deets. Where can people see your stuff?
Yeah, I've been cutting other people's records so far this year, which has been really great. But I'm really excited to finish up. I'm mid project. I'm mixing this last record I just did, and then I want to dive in and do my own. I am excited. I have never started a Patreon. I've never done the Patreon thing.
Sure.
And I've had enough people ask me about like, hey, what's that like? What's sharing that behind the scenes stuff in the studio, and then the homesteading thing where it's like, maybe it's time to do the Patreon piece so I can.
You have a lot of different avenues you could go.
Be home more. So my wife and I are working together on that, and then. But one of the things I want to do is, like I mentioned earlier, I fired Gary, my voice of doubt, and And Gary's told me a lot of songs that I've written over the years don't matter, and I've been digging out a bunch of songs from the vault that I've put away that I've never done anything with, and I want to record them and put them out.
Love that.
And so call the record like "Screw Gary" or something like that. No.
Call Gary's Unemployed.
Call the record Gary's Chagrin. But yeah, I don't know. So,
Gary
but
don't
I am
know
hitting the road. I'm doing some shows this spring. The first time I'm hitting the road, I'm going down through Florida and playing Santa Rosa Beach and Tampa and Jacksonville, and I'm playing in Georgia and a year away. I'll be in Connecticut.
You've been in Connecticut?
The top of May there.
Okay. Yeah. Let me give me a shout when you're up in my area. I'm not too far.
I will.
Where are you playing?
I might have a day too. I might have an extra little day. There's like a Tuesday night concert series at like at a great little brewery in Woodbury, Connecticut.
Ooh,
and
nice.
I always want to pronounce the C. It's a nice little area, and they make really good beer there at Woodbury Brewing Company, and I'll be there on May 7th if that's a Tuesday. I've got some privates that I'm kind of filling in between, but I'm excited. I'll get to dust the cobwebs off and sing some songs in front of people again for the for the first time in a hot minute.
Has it been a while? When was the last time?
It's only been a few months. I was out in December, but this is the longest I've been home without touring in like 8 years.
Oh, wow.
So to be home for like 3 months is crazy to me. And it's been beautiful. It's been really good to be home. So, and it's because I've been cutting records here. I haven't needed to leave, and I'm really grateful. Like, I want to figure out how to make the studio and producing records part of my year so I can be home more. And tour with more intentionality rather than tour like, well, I need to work, so let's find some shows, versus like, hey, let's take like a 5-6 week chunk, do a big long tour, and then I'll be home for 3 months. And
right.
Like that would be awesome. And so we're making it happen. I've got an agent Sarah Schlevert. And she's such a rock star, and I'm so grateful I get to work with her. And man,
it's so important to have people.
She's the one to make it happen. Yeah, and the people who are very good at what they do and extremely proficient and believe in you, like for her to say like, no, we don't leave the house for less than this, and then see her and like being like, but then will we ever play then? And then seeing her go get those things, it's like, oh, that's okay. You believed in me. You saw the potential in this, and when I wasn't seeing it. So it's been great.
That's great, man. Well, this was a blast. I love talking with you.
It's just too short.
I know. I'm going to let you go just because I don't want to keep you away from the family and stuff. And but dude, thanks so much. This is great. This is
I don't
really
even
good.
know what we talked about, but I
don't know either.
A lot.
I'm gonna have to go through this and really the fine tooth comb. Like, pots and pans. What the hell? Eggs? They talk.
Do you drink? Are you a whiskey guy or anything like that, or are you a sober guy these days? Where are you at?
No, I drink. I drink occasionally now, not as much as I used to, but I tried to.
Are you a dad or something?
Yeah. Well, one tour, I was just like, oh God, I had 4 or 5 beers like every night for like 30 days or something crazy like that, and I was just like, I got to take a break. So, September 2019, I stopped right before we went on our fall tour, and then I kept that going all throughout 2020 and a little bit, and I think I had my first drink on like New Year's Day or something, 2021. So I took a year off just as like all right, I need to really hit the reset button here. And then now it's just kind of like occasions. I don't drink when I'm on the road, really, unless I'm in town seeing somebody that I haven't seen in a long time. We'll go out to dinner and I'll have a cocktail or something. I usually have, and I was a bartender for 10 years, so yeah. So I like to like whip up a nice cocktail. Make an old fashioned, a good old fashioned. I've been drinking gin and tonics kind of at night lately. Because there's like this really good, as far as gin, I didn't get into it until later. But there's this gin that I got at a venue it was either Maine or New Hampshire. And, that's what we do. Like the guys in the band don't really drink that much. And the ones that do don't drink hard alcohol. So I'll usually take all the bottles of whiskey that we get. So like literally the cabinet that's right in front of me, because we have like a little kitchenette in our basement, is filled with different bottles of like
green
really
room
good
bottles.
whiskey. Exactly. Yeah. That's the green room bottle cabinet right there.
I love that.
And I'll pull one out when we have people over. Fortunately, we never have people over, so that cabinet is completely filled. But yeah. Long story short, sure.
I asked that because I'm like, well, I'll come out there and let's dive into let's taste some whiskeys or mezcals or something like that.
Yeah, I'm totally down. I love mezcal. Love me some mezcal. So yeah, when you're out here, it's a date, and I'll read the instructions, and
I'll listen,
and I'll be like, "What did you say? We're drinking." Thanks, man.
I love that.
See you, dude.
Cheers. Love you, brother. Good to
Great
talk
talking
with you.
See you, man.
Cheers.
That's it. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode with Dan Rodriguez. I have a new newsletter out. I am very excited about it. It comes out on Sundays, features a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of music news, a little bit of insights, a little bit of personal touch. I'm going to leave a link for that in the description below. Please subscribe. I'd really appreciate your support. Next week on the show, I have the wonderful Mark McCullough of Red Wanting Blue. He's the bass player in the rock group from Ohio, and you're going to love him. It's great. We sit outside at a venue in Columbus, and we talk. We do a podcast, just like all the other ones. Love you guys. Thanks for the support, and I will see you soon.